Hey guys, welcome back to my channel and welcome back to another Echelon video. I'm so excited. It has now been 90 whole days since I purchased my Echelon EX3 bike that you see behind me here. And I am so excited to report that I have had an amazing 90 days so far, and I want to give you guys a holistic review of the pros, the cons, the general overview of what I feel about my Echelon EX3 spin bike after owning it for 90 days. Do you want to tell everyone hello? Welcome to the channel. Please subscribe. So after 90 days of owning the EX3 spin bike, I have actually done 62 spin classes on this bike. So in just 3 months, I have done 62 classes, but I have also done over 52 hours of spinning on this bike behind me. Now, I've done a number of other reviews for you guys already on my channel. I've done my 30-day review, I've done my unboxing of my Echelon EX3 bike and putting it together, and I also did a review of my Echelon EX3 bike with the Peloton app for the classes. Now, if you guys have not checked out those videos already, I will make sure to link them in the description down below, and I will also link them up in a card right now for you guys to check out, but I would recommend checking out those videos alongside this video if you are looking to purchase the Echelon EX3. So guys, in this video, I will be going over my pros, my cons, some of the upgrades that I made to this bike, as well as my general overview after having this bike for 90 days. So after 90 days, would I actually repurchase this bike? Is this the right spin bike for me? And am I happy with my purchase of the Echelon EX3 bike? Make sure you stick around till the end of the video to hear my full review and understand if I made the right purchase. Cool, so let's go over the pros first, the pros of owning the Echelon EX3 after 90 days. So I've definitely had my fair share of time on this spin bike, and I have experienced a number of different spin classes, as well as different types of ways of spinning on it and different workouts on it. So I have to say that there are about 5 different pros to owning this spin bike at home. The first pro is that you can use this spin bike with any spin class, which is honestly a big pro in today's world. Nowadays, with everything that's happening in the world, more and more companies, including Peloton, but not exclusively Peloton, are coming out with more and more spin classes. That means that you're able to access spin classes through third-party applications or third-party gyms or anyone else that's creating spin classes nowadays. Even the free spin classes that are on YouTube, you can totally use them with this spin bike because this spin bike actually doesn't come with a mounted screen. So that means that you can use any one of your smart devices and you can decide to use any different party or third-party app with this spin bike and be able to have a great spin workout and not have to use the Echelon actual Fit app with this bike, which is great because I personally didn't like the Echelon Fit app workouts, but you know, I love the variety. Whether you like the classes or not, having variety of spin classes is such a big pro. You don't always want to take the same instructors, the same classes, and what I have to say is when you get the opportunity to use different applications with this bike and different spin classes with this bike, it really makes it so much more enjoyable and so much more exciting. So the second pro that I have to talk about today is that I get to use this bike and all the metrics that come with this bike because it is Bluetooth connected with other applications. As I said earlier, I use the Peloton app with this bike. And when I use the Peloton app, I actually don't get to see all my metrics on the screen that Peloton is showing me because I'm not using the Peloton bike. But what's great is when I use 2 different devices with this bike and the Bluetooth connectivity, I'm able to see my cadence, my output, my resistance, all of that is visible to me, and I don't have to pay anything extra for it. Whenever you buy an Echelon EX3 bike, what happens is when you buy the bike, you get invited to download their application, and their application connects via Bluetooth. So whenever I sync up with this bike and the app, I'm able to actually access all my metrics in the freestyle mode without having to pay for the Echelon Fit app, which is great, which means I can always just use this bike in freestyle mode. Freestyle mode is meant for you to use with music or maybe a scenic ride or just enjoy riding and seeing your metrics all around. So that's really what it's made for, but what's great is you can use the freestyle ride and use all those metrics like your cadence, your output, your resistance, and you can use it with another app. But the only downside is obviously you have to have 2 different devices, but I'll show you that in a second as well. But in general, having those metrics available to you without having to pay for the Echelon Fit app app is such a positive for me. So yeah, so the Echelon Fit app, what it is it's a monthly subscription. So you can definitely start paying for it and you can start using their spin classes within the app. But when you buy an Echelon EX3 spin bike, what you can do is just download the app. It's totally free in the App Store and you actually don't have to pay for the subscription for the spin classes. So I think that as a major pro, because what you can do is you can just download the app, you can put it into freestyle mode, sync up with your phone, be able to see all your cadence and your metrics, and then use a different device in order to link up to other spin classes. So you don't actually have to pay for the subscription of the Echelon Fit app, you just download it and use it in the freestyle mode. But if you want to, another great thing is that it is a monthly rolling subscription. So if you want to, for example, this month, use some of the Echelon classes along with the metrics, you can totally just pay 1 month at a time if you're keen on that as well. So the third pro that I totally love about this bike is that it is built on a strong steel frame, which means that it is set up like a true studio spin bike, meaning that it's not going to topple over, it's very sturdy, and I feel like I'm getting the spin studio experience at home. And I really love the build of it. I think that it's built to last. I think that it's going to be a great addition to my home gym. And I also love the sleek black look to it. I just think that every little detail about it when it comes to the framing, to the build of it, it's really built to last, and having that strong steel frame build is going to make sure that you feel sturdy when you are actually riding. And whenever I sit or stand up in a spin class, I never feel like it's rocky or I'm gonna fall over or anything like that. And I have to say that added security level or that added steel frame that they've built this bike on really helps me feel secure whenever I'm spinning really quickly or, changing positions, jumping up or sitting down on the saddle. All of that, it really pays off to have a strong, sturdy steel frame. And the Echelon EX3 definitely does that. So the fourth pro that I have to share with you guys today is the fact that it has a heavy flywheel and a magnetic resistance. Now, these are two things that I totally looked for before buying any spin bike, not just the EX3 spin bike behind me, but I totally looked for a spin bike that has a heavy flywheel and magnetic resistance. And the main reasons why you'd want to look for that is, first of all, when you have a heavy flywheel, it means that it actually makes the workouts a little bit tougher and harder. These are for all my girls or guys out there that really enjoy a tough workout, a tougher spin class, because the heavier the flywheel, the harder it is for you to crank through and get the flywheel moving. And so whenever you up that resistance on a heavy flywheel, it means you're working harder. So I have to say that overall, I think that the Echelon EX3 flywheel and the weight of that flywheel is so much better than some of the other competitors that I saw out there. I obviously haven't spun on those spin bikes, but it is equivalent to a studio spin bike flywheel weight, which is what I was looking for. So as I said, having a magnetic resistance is also super helpful. When I was looking at spin bikes and which spin bike to purchase, it was one of the main things I was looking at. And the main reason I was looking at it is because I was told having a magnetic resistance would make it so much easier for me to change the dial and change the resistance of the spin bike. And when you are taking a spin class, especially some of these higher paced, more cardiovascular spin classes, a lot of times you move from like 10 resistance to 20 resistance really quickly, and the magnetic resistance is really easy to crank that dial and move into those different levels. So having that as one of the base parts of this bike was really a big seller for me. And I have to say, being able to change from 1 to 2 to 3 quite easily and quite quietly is the main reason why I would totally purchase the spin bike again. It was such a game changer, and I think it's so important when you are buying a studio level spin bike, you want to make sure you're getting that magnetic resistance as well as heavy flywheel. Also, magnetic resistance never wears out, which means obviously your bike is going to last longer, which is so amazing and such a good positive thing to have, because when you are purchasing a spin bike at home, it's a hefty purchase and you're going to want to make sure the bike lasts for a long time so you get your return on investment. So I would say always opt for magnetic resistance because it is going to last longer. And finally, my fifth pro to this bike, which I already alluded to in my last pro, is that it's super quiet. Like, honestly, this bike is so quiet. I really didn't believe it. When I was watching all the advertisements on spin bikes and how everyone said, yeah, you can totally spin and someone could be sleeping in the next room, I didn't think that was possible. I'm working out. If you think about a gym, it's quite loud, it's quite noisy, and you just expect that kind of noise from a machine. But this bike is honestly so quiet. I have definitely done so many different classes and no one would know. My neighbors wouldn't know I was working out. Anyone sleeping in the next room wouldn't actually know what I was working out. The loudest part of this bike is actually me huffing and puffing when I'm actually working out throughout a spin class. But I have to say, the pedal strokes are nice and quiet. You can't even hear it. Like I said, the magnetic resistance is super quiet. Everything about this bike is so quiet that you could easily, if you were like a new parent and you had kids sleeping in the next room, or you had a partner sleeping in the next room, or let's say you work out at night or first thing in the morning and other people in your house are still sleeping, honestly, no one would know you were working out when you're working out on this spin bike. It is so quiet. So now moving on to the cons, the not so good things. These are definitely the negative sides of having this bike, but I wouldn't say that these are game changers or would actually change my mind about purchasing this spin bike again. I just want to be very clear that this bike isn't all positive. There are definitely things that can be improved and things that I have noticed after 90 days of spinning that I would love to see future iterations of this bike actually have. But if you are buying the EX3 from Echelon, these are kind of the cons that I've come across and that I would just recommend you watch out for if you are considering this bike as your first spin bike purchase. So the first con that I have to talk about is actually the pedals. Now, Echelon does offer something that's quite unique, but I also think that it's kind of contradictory to a spin bike. What they offer is their standard pedals come with a toe cage where you can strap in your shoe and then you can tighten it and then you're able to wear a normal tennis shoe. And then on the flip side, they offer a SPD clip-in so that you can wear SPD shoes while spinning. Now, the downside of this is that when you are spinning with SPD shoes on and the cage is on the bottom, a lot of times it will slap the floor when you are actually pedaling. And also, when you are using just the SPD shoes, I had a negative experience. Now, this is a manufacturer default. It wasn't anything to do with everyone's spin bike, but I have to say that when I was clipped in, it accidentally snapped the pedal, which meant that I was almost like spinning out of the saddle without being clipped in, which was a little bit dangerous, but I have to say that Echelon support got back to me really quickly and was able to give me replacement pedals, and I was able to change those out. So I just have to say that the pedals that Echelon offer aren't as high quality as the other competitors out there. And I personally upgraded my pedals to the different pedals that I will be showing you as well. And I would recommend always clipping in when you are doing a spin class, just because you have more power and more control when you are clipped into a pedal. And so the downside is that the pedals from Echelon aren't the best when it comes to the quality of different pedals out there. But I also have to say that when it did break and when I did have a manufacturer default, Echelon's support was able to quickly repair my fault, and it was covered in my 1-year warranty, which was also great. So the second con is that there is no built-in screen with this bike. Now, as I said, it's nice to not have the screen because obviously you can then use different apps and different opportunities to use different spin classes with your bike. But it is also a con in my mind because I always have to have a smart device available and ready and plug into the bike so that I can actually use it. If there was a screen available, it's just nicer, it's just easier to flow, I think. Most of the time, I'm not actually using my TV. I thought I would be using my big TV to connect to, but really, I just use my iPad on my actual spin bike, and I use my phone as well. And sometimes I really wish I had a bigger screen to just watch the spin class on that's already connected to the bike, that's already synced up to all the Bluetooth connections. I think that would just make life a little bit easier, but this isn't a major con. This is just kind of something I've noticed would be nice to have. The third con actually connects back to the whole device thing. So I've noticed that whenever I sync up my iPad or my phone to the bike, sometimes, not all the time, maybe 1 in every 10 or so, the bike actually isn't recognized and I have to go through the whole Bluetooth syncing process and make sure that the smart device is able to connect to the bike. And that's just, again, a few minutes here and there. It's not a big deal. It's not a game changer. It doesn't really make me that upset. But in the morning when I am just trying to pedal and get my workout in and just get it all done, sometimes you just want everything to just turn on and go. And I have to say, even when I have things kind of semi set up, so I have my iPad already set up and I try to connect everything up, sometimes the bike connectivity isn't the best, with devices. So I have to say that that's kind of a bit of a downfall. Not anything that's gonna change my mind about purchasing this bike again, but just as a forewarning, it kind of happens, and that's just technology, I guess. The fourth con that I have to share is that this spin bike isn't like traditional studio spin bikes in the sense that the resistance knob actually takes quite a few cranks for it to go up in level. So one thing I have noticed is taking the Peloton classes with the Echelon bike is that Peloton tends to go through the ranges of levels or resistance quite quickly, like most spin classes. Most, let's say, aerobic spin classes or rhythm spin classes tend to go from like, let's go level 10 and then 15 and then 20, and you quickly go through the resistance levels. But the downside with the Echelon EX3 is that we have to kind of twist the knob quite a few times to get it to go up in levels that quickly. It doesn't just do one notch equals one level higher. It kind of does about a 90-degree turn, and that's one level higher or two level higher. So it's a little bit harder to get up in levels in this bike compared to a standard studio spin bike, and that's just something I guess I've gotten used to over time. It doesn't change the resistance or the heaviness level, or it doesn't change how well of a workout you're getting. I'm just saying that when you are doing certain spin classes and you are doing certain apps like Peloton, it's a little bit trickier because you have to switch into those gears a lot faster. And the fifth con that I have to mention today is that you need to have this bike close to a power outlet. Now, this is not like a big game changer, or it doesn't actually, change my decision of buying the spin bike, but you have to actually have this spin bike close to an outlet, close to a wall where there is an outlet present. So you can't just move the spin bike anywhere and everywhere whenever you feel like it. It needs to always be near an outlet so that you can plug it in, and then you're able to actually see all the stats on the screen, and it's actually gonna power and go. If you don't plug it in, you're just gonna be spinning. Like, you're not even actually gonna be able to change the resistance or anything or see any of your metrics. You have to plug this bike in. So I guess that's kind of a con, but I guess that's kind of the new standard of at-home spin bikes. Most of the competitors to the Echelon EX3 also require you to plug it in. I just think that some of the cheaper bikes out there, you don't have to plug them in, but hey, this obviously gives you the studio experience when you do plug it in. So not a major con, but something I thought I would let you guys know. Okay, so next I want to talk about some of the upgrades that I made to this bike. So after 90 days of having this Echelon EX3 bike at home, I've definitely made a few tweaks and changes that I just want to also mention to you guys, if you are purchasing this bike, some cheaper ways of making some of the upgrades that I have made on my bike. So the first upgrade that I have made is I have changed out the pedals. I've already mentioned this, but the pedals that come standard with the Echelon EX3 aren't exactly the highest quality or the best spin bike pedals, and that's fine. I mean, most spin bikes come with some sort of standard, but I wanted to have the best clip-in experience because, like I said earlier, clipping into your spin bike allows you to put out more power, have more control, get a better workout, and I highly recommend it. I know that people get a little bit nervous with clipping into spin bikes because, as a newbie, I also just wore regular trainers when I was working out, but I highly recommend that you get clip-in shoes and clip into your spin bike, and also make sure your pedals match up to that as well so that you have clip-in pedals. The second upgrade I made is buying a mat for my spin bike to sit on top of. Now, this is a heavy piece of equipment, and also it doesn't really move, and there are little rubber knobs at the bottom of the base of the bike, so it's not gonna really tear up your floor. But I would recommend just adding that a little bit extra bit of protection. And also, when you are using SPD spin shoes or the clip-in spin shoes, those things tend to be metal on the bottom. And if you are using your spin bike indoors with a wood or tile or any kind of flooring, those shoes can really tear up the flooring. And I would recommend putting your spin bike on some sort of rubber mat so that it's able to absorb a little bit of the shock when you clip in and out, and also make sure that you're not destroying your floor. And I'd have to say that when I looked at the Echelon website, their mats that you buy from their brand is so expensive. I actually bought a mat from eBay, so much cheaper, and it does the same exact thing. And I'll make sure to link everything down in the description box below if you guys are interested in purchasing anything that I'm talking about in this video. So I'll leave all that down below for you guys. It's also super easy to clean up a lot of the sweat that you end up sweating on the mat. So I end up sweating quite a bit when I'm in the middle of a spin class. I don't know about you guys, but you don't want to be sweating onto your carpet or onto your wood floors. If you do have a mat underneath the bike, again, a rubber mat is highly recommended from my point of view. You're able to just mop up all that sweat and keep it nice and clean. So my third upgrade tip for you guys is to buy your own weights. As you can see on the back here, my bike has weights attached to it. And when I looked at the Echelon website, it was so overpriced. Like for 2 pounds weights, they were charging like 25 pounds. It was crazy. You can find cheaper weights anywhere else. I personally got my weights from Sports Direct. I will link it down in the description for you below. But all I have to say is that you can buy your own weights and it'll be way cheaper. And buying your own weights also allows you to control how heavy or light you want your weights to be. And I have to say, not all of Echelon's classes have workouts with arm weights in them. But if you are going to do a Peloton class with your Echelon bike, you are gonna need hand weights. So I'd recommend picking up a few from your local Sports Direct or any other online retailer that sells hand weights. And finally, the last upgrade that I wanna talk to you guys about is the shoes. Now, the shoes are so important. I've said this so many times in this video already, but having clip-in shoes really makes a difference on how your spin experience goes. I know when I was a newbie, I was just strapping in and I was just using normal trainers. But once you clip in, you have so much more control, so much more power, and then you actually start using your hamstrings and your quads when you're spinning. When you don't clip in, a lot of times it's quad dominant workouts, and you don't want that. You want to have a full leg workout, a full body workout. And when you are clipped in, it's just so much more control, so much more power. And again, just it feels better, it feels right. I know it's scary at first, but I would recommend definitely buying SPD shoes and then clipping into your spin bike and making sure that you make those upgrades so that you can clip into your spin bike. All right, guys, so coming into my final review of my Echelon EX3 bike. So after 90 days, do I really like it? Would I repurchase it? Is this the right spin bike for me? And is this right spin bike for you? And I would totally say yes. It is. I'm totally happy with my purchase and I really love it. And here's the reasons why I totally love my Echelon EX3. The first thing I have to say is that the Echelon Fit app is not the one for me. I tried it for about 30 days. I gave a full review on it. I'll link the video down in the description for you below. But the classes that are offered in the Echelon Fit app are just not really the type of classes I enjoy. I've said this in a previous video and I'll say it again. The Echelon Fit App spin classes are designed for people who like power workouts, meaning you like to sit in the saddle, you like your resistance to be super high, and you really like to power through those workouts, which are great sometimes. But I personally enjoy the pop, dance, more fun up out of the saddle workouts. So that's why for me personally, after having this app or this bike for 90 days, I personally have not used the Echelon Fit app that many more times. I just used it for the first 30 days that I paid for the subscription. And since then, I've been using the freestyle mode, and that's what's worked really well for me. I've either done spin classes through a third-party app or I've just spun to music, but I just don't find their classes the best. So I do appreciate that with the Echelon EX3, I'm able to use different spin classes and do different things with the bike. So I don't always have to be committed to their spin classes because they're just not for me. So the second part I have to review is the seat. Now, I know a lot of people have lots of questions about the seat of the bike. Is it comfortable? Is it nice? Is it, nice to sit in? Now, here's the thing with spin classes or spin bikes. If you're new to spin, your first few classes, your butt's gonna hurt. Like, let me just be really clear. I was really sore for the first few days whenever I did do spin classes in a studio, okay? It's not meant to be comfortable, but you also don't sit in it all day and night. It's only for a short period of time before you jump up and you start pedaling out of the saddle. So it doesn't have to be exactly like comfortable. I'd have to say the Echelon EX3 standard seat that comes with the bike is pretty comfy. I'm not gonna say it's the most comfortable, but it is a spin bike seat. So it's not meant to be a comfortable, joyous, comfortable ride. It's not supposed to be cushy and nice and comfy. They do offer upgrades where you can buy a different seat and you can totally swap out the seat if you want to. But overall, for me personally, it's a very comfy seat. And after the first few days of being sore, you'll totally get used to it. And if you do want to replace the seat, it is a standard seat. So you can replace it with any bike seat that you want. You don't have to buy the Echelon one if you don't want to, but As I said before, I don't think it actually needs replacing, but if you do want to, you totally can. Another awesome thing about the bike that I've noticed after 90 days of having the bike is that it has multiple settings and multiple height adjustments, which is really, really awesome if you have different people in your family using this bike for workouts. So you can see that there's different levels. So there's like a 1, 2, 3, 4, so on and so forth. And you can change handlebars to the levels that you need it, or the seat adjustment to the levels that you need it. And it's super easy to readjust. For example, if I was spinning on this with someone else, I would know that my settings are at a number 2, and then whoever else is using the spin bike can set it to whatever settings they want to. And whenever I jump back on it, it's easy to readjust to number 2. It's pretty straightforward. There's a number of different settings. So no matter how short or how tall you are, this bike really does set you up to be comfortable at any height or weight. So that's what's really great about it. Another great thing that I have to point out is that it has a dual water bottle holder. Now, I think that for the shorter spin classes, this doesn't really matter because you usually will probably go through one water bottle and that's plenty. But if you are one of those long distance riders, or you want to do multiple spin classes, let's say you want to do 2 30-minute classes or a 60-minute long class or something like that, there are 2 water bottle holders, which means you can fill up 2 water bottles and you can just keep on spinning and keep on drinking all the water you want without having to unclip or jump off the bike and go get more water. Also, what's great is if you do have like a sports drink as well as water, you can have one on each side, which is really nice. I've never used that feature, but whenever you do longer spin classes, it's just nice to have the opportunity of having 2 different bottles on 2 different sides so you can have enough hydration. Also, with the dual water bottles, it's so nice because if you are left-handed like I am, you can definitely have the water bottle on the left-hand side. I know that a lot of spin bikes and spin studios have water bottle holders designed for right-handed people, so it's always on the right-hand side. But obviously with dual water bottle holders, you can put your bottle on the left or the right, whichever one you prefer. And finally, the last thing that I have to review for you guys is the weight holders on the back of the spin bike. As I said earlier, a lot standard spin classes that you can get online nowadays do some sort of arm workout in the middle of your spin class, and you're gonna wanna have your weights close by or easy to reach because you're not gonna want to have to jump off your spin bike, grab some weights, and start working out. And it's nice that this spin bike offers the opportunity for you to have weights just attached to the back of the spin bike, and then you can easily grab them and start working out. No problem, no hassle. Every single time I've done a spin class with weights involved, I just grab them from the back of my seat, work out, and I'm able to easily put them back as well. So I think that that's a great pro, and also just really nice to have, and makes the bike feel like it is a studio spin bike, because most of the spin bikes that I've ridden in studio always have some sort of weight holder on the back. So guys, overall, would I actually buy this bike again? After 90 days of riding this and testing this bike, would I actually repurchase it? The answer is yes. Definitely. I think I made the right purchase with the Echelon EX3 bike. I think regardless of the cons that I listed earlier in the video, they're superficial cons. They're not really game changing, and they're not going to really change my mind of the experience I've had with the EX3 spin bike. Overall, it's a beautifully built spin bike. It is really worth the money. If you actually spin regularly and you are a spin enthusiast, I would highly recommend checking out and buying this bike. I would totally purchase it again. I think it's a great bike, and it's way cheaper than some of the alternatives out there nowadays, and you get to use it with so many different apps, which I've already mentioned is what I do. But yeah, I think that overall it's a great spin bike, and I would totally purchase it again. So guys, I hope you enjoyed my 90-day review of my Echelon EX3 spin bike. This is actually now the 4th video that I've made on the Echelon EX3 spin bike. I love it so much. I will list all my other videos down below so you guys can check it out. But if you guys have made it to this point of the video and you have found value and you enjoy my content around Echelon EX3 spin bikes, please do give this video a thumbs up so I know to create more content around my spin bike. And if you've made it this far and you're not already subscribed to my channel, please do consider smashing that subscribe button and be a part of my YouTube family, because I upload 2 times a week on Sundays and Wednesdays, and I would love to have you a part of my YouTube family. And also make sure you turn on that bell notification so you know exactly when my next video is going live. Anyways, guys, I hope you guys are having an amazing day wherever you are in the world, and I hope to catch you guys in my next video. Bye!